Hi guys, welcome to another Your Guy Brad video. I hope I found you all well. This room probably looks a little bit unfamiliar to you all, but it is like a little back room that I've got in here. We did some clearing out, and I think this is the first time I've done a video standing up. Maybe, might be, might not be. Anyway, that's not the whole point. So, in today's video, I'm going to talk about, because I've got some, I don't know, like spiritual beliefs, stuff like that. For the past couple of months, this has happened, and it has, like, I don't know, it's made me feel very spiritual. It makes me think of things like the afterlife and things like that. What will happen next after we disappear off this earth? You know, a lot of people think we will end up being worm food in the ground, and then it'll be like we never existed. And some believe that there is something afterwards where we go. I believe the latter. I believe that we go somewhere. I believe there is a heaven and a hell. I'm not an extremely religious person. I'm not really religious, to be honest, but I do believe in like an afterlife, and I do believe in like things like manifestation, because, you know, even though at times it was very difficult, I just thinking like it's just not happening. You know, you don't see the things in your 3D results. You know, the things that are actually happening. You know, it's hard to become delusional about these things. So yeah, I'm gonna read something about heaven that might actually change your mind if you are, let's say, an atheist or a non-believer. So I read this a couple of months ago. I think this is probably where it all started. Top doctor who fell into a coma explains what he experienced while he was in heaven. So an American neurosurgeon called Eben Alexander claims that he reunited with his sister in the afterlife, which is fantastic. So let's read the article itself. A top doctor who claims to have visited heaven while he was in a coma has revealed what he experienced, which left him convinced that there is life after death. American neurosurgeon and author Dr. Eben Alexander explained that he felt reborn after suddenly... sorry about that. Dr. Eben Alexander explained that he felt reborn after suddenly regaining consciousness while doctors were weighing up whether to continue providing him with life support. Talk about in the nick of time here. I'm just reading everything it says. The medic's life changed forever in November 2008 when he woke up one morning with a searing headache while working at the Lynchburg General Hospital in Virginia. Within a few hours, I went into a coma. My neurocortex, the part of the brain that handles all the thought processes making us human, had shut down completely. It was determined that Alexander was suffering from bacterial meningitis, which was eating into his brain like acid and inflaming his spinal cord, and his chances of survival were little to none. So it's one of them miraculous things that happen. You know, chances are very, very little that it don't happen. But miracles, I definitely do believe exist. I really, really do. Especially when you're really in need of one. You know, miracles, I do definitely think exist. So on to the next bit. Apparently he used to be skeptical because of the profession that he worked in and things like that. People used to say, oh, I went here and I went there, and you know, he used to be skeptical about afterlife until his brush with death. That's what it says here. It's not my term. Anyway, the academic who taught brain science at Harvard Medical School, I think that's like the best school in America, I'm thinking, in terms of medical schools, was experiencing seizures, and doctors decided to place him into a medically induced coma to give his body a chance to recuperate, even though the prognosis was not looking good. I was in deep coma, a vegetative state. I have no idea what that means. And all the higher functions of my brain were offline. An excerpt from his book, The Map of Heaven, as per said the Daily Mail. Scans show no conscious activity whatsoever. My brain was not malfunctioning. It was completely unplugged. My inner self still existed in defiance of all the known laws of science. So again, I've never really been one of them, massive science people. I've never really been into stuff like that because it just wasn't for me, but stuff like this is quite fascinating. So as we continue to read, it says, Alexander admitted his line of work had made him sceptical about patients claiming they had out-of-body experiences, angelic encounters and hallucinations, as he believed it was the brain's way of coping with trauma. As then, in the most dramatic circumstance possible, I discovered proof that I was wrong. The neuroscientist said, for 7 days, as I lay in that unresponsive coma, my consciousness went on a voyage through a series of realms, each one more extraordinary than the last, a journey behind the physical world, and one that until I would certainly have dismissed as impossible. So now we're going to get into what he saw. Alexander explained that he saw that medical records for every minute of his coma show zero indication of any brain activity, which he believes proves that what he experienced was not just unfolding inside of his mind. That is incredible. It really, really is. I mean, how can you explain that? How can you explain all that? I think, his brain was completely dead. So it does show that there is legitimate proof there. After slipping into the coma, he recalls feeling as though he was in primordial state, that he felt like he was being buried in earth. But he was aware that this was not the world he was familiar with, and as he sensed, heard, and saw other entities. I'm sorry if I've pronounced that word wrong. It's not one I've heard before. Alexander described what he witnessed after an expanse of time had passed. Though I can't begin to guess how long a light came slowly down from the above, throwing off marvellous filaments of living silver and golden effulgence. It was a circular entity emitting a beautiful heavenly music that I called the spinning melody. The light opened up like a rip in the fabric of that coarse realm, as I felt myself going through the rip up into a valley of lush and fertile greenery, where waterfalls flowed into crystal pools. There were clouds like marshmallow puffs of pink and white. Behind them, the sky was a rich blue-black. The world was not vague, he said. It was deeply, piercingly alive, and as vivid as the aroma of fried chicken, as dazzling as the glint of sunlight of the metalwork of a car, and as startling as the impact of first love. It was paradise, and Alexander wanted to travel into it deeper and deeper. He describes heaven as being as vast, various, and populated as earth, but says nothing is isolated, alienated, or disconnected. There, everything is one. Alexander explained that while soaking up the sheer beauty of the place, he eventually encountered an infinitively powerful deity, who he referred to as Om, who served as his guide, She was an extraordinarily beautiful woman who first appeared as I rode. As that speck of awareness on the wing of that butterfly, he said. I'd never seen this woman before. I didn't know who she was. Yet her presence was enough to heal my heart, to make me whole in a way I'd never known was possible. Her face was unforgettable. When she looked at me, I felt such an abundance of emotion that if nothing good had ever happened to me before, the whole of my life would have been worth living for that expression in her eyes alone. It was not romantic love. It was not friendship. It was far beyond all the different compartments of love we have on earth. Without actually speaking, she let me know that I was loved and cared for beyond measure, and that the universe was a faster, better, and more beautiful place than I could ever have dreamed. Now, he talks about being reborn, so I think this is when he comes back. She reassured Alexander that he was loved, cherished, and had nothing to fear, which made his alleged time in heaven an utterly wonderful experience. Meanwhile, he'd been in a coma for a week and showed no signs of improvement, prompting doctors to consider whether they should turn off his life support. But then he suddenly regained consciousness. My eyes just popped open and I was back. I had no memories of my earthly life, but knew full well where I had been. He explained, I had to relearn everything, who, what, where I was. Over days, then weeks, like a gently falling snow, my old earthly knowledge came back. By 8 weeks, my prior knowledge of science, including the experiences and learning from more than 2 decades spent as a neurosurgeon teaching hospitals, returned completely. That full recovery remains a miracle without any explanation from modern medicine. After his near-death experience, he felt like a different person due to the things he had experienced, and he found it especially difficult to get off his mind. But everything made sense when the doctor who was adopted as a child received a letter 4 months later. Alexander explained that he remembered nothing of his birth family and grew up not knowing that he had a biological sister. Betsy, that was her name, until he later went in search of his parents. But for Betsy it was too late. She had died, the medic said. This is the story of how I reunited with her in heaven. One of his relatives, whom he had been in touch with, sent Alexander a photograph of his sister, which solidified his alleged afterlife experience. Betsy was the woman he had encountered. The shock of recognition was total. The moment I realised this, something crystallised inside me. That photo was the confirmation that I'd needed. This was proof beyond reproach of the objective reality of my experience. From then on, I was back in the old earthly world I'd left behind before my coma struck, but as genuinely a new person. I had been reborn. So that is his experience. There's another one that says 8-year-old boy who died and was brought back to life told everything he saw while in heaven. So again, I don't think that this is something that can be written off. I don't think it's impossible. A lot of science people say, yeah, well, it's nice to think that, and it just might be something in your mind, or it might be a hallucination or a dream while you're unconscious. But this guy had no brain activity going on whatsoever. None. Zero. Nada. Nothing. So it just makes you think, doesn't it? And there's a lot of people who have. So One thing that I do have a little bit of doubt, or not doubt I would say, but I found a little bit strange that all these videos that I've watched or articles that I've seen, they're all people from America, the US. Now that's not, you know, and obviously the US is quite a religious country. Not everyone, of course, but there is a lot of parts that are quite religious. So I don't know if that's a part of it. Maybe not. I'm yet to see one in the UK or anywhere else, but it's fascinating and it gives you hope, you know, because there's probably people who grieve when they've lost someone and they just think that's it, they're just gone forever, I'm never ever ever going to see them again. But maybe you will, you know. Say for me and Rigby, for example, I fully believe that I'll see Rigby in the next life. That's what I believe, you know, and I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that's delusional. I definitely think there will be like an afterlife awareness where I get to see him again, because I know we're not all here forever. I wish we were, but we're not. But yeah, I believe I'll see my family, my friends, and be with my best pal 100% of the time, and we'll just be doing the things we enjoy. We'll be watching TV, if there is TV up there. We'll be eating. We both love eating. So yeah, that's my perspective on things. Let me know what you guys think. Please remember to like, subscribe and comment below if you enjoyed this video. I'll see you all next time. Not sure what the next one will be about, but I'll see you then. Bye-bye.